he bought he bought his first camera in 1974. But in 1975, he started noticing the lightning and storms, which took him down a new path, which became the highway for the journey of his life. He captured the first streak of lightning on film on July 1st, 1976. And he still does not use that same camera, which he did for a long time, but now, guess what? He uses his cell phone. So, he's appeared on the Disney Discovery Channel, the Learning Channel, the Travel Channel, German TV, TV4 in England, and Ripley's Believe It or Not on TV. So please welcome the Lightning Stalker.
Just to clear up one small thing, I do not shoot lightning with my cell phone. I shoot lightning nowadays. This is a Nikon D600, 24 megapixel digital camera, and I never, ever, ever thought I'd be in the business. I'm a film guy. Yes, I remember. But, let me tell you what happened. $2,500 for this camera. I could buy mine in a pawn shop for $50. Okay? But, I got the camera and the lens, and the first time I went out to chase a storm, I knew it wasn't going to work. Autofocus, you can't see it now. So I had to figure things out. So, a friend of mine, actually a guy that knew me a long time ago, happened to wander into my store one time. And he said, "You still using your old stuff?" And I said, "Well, I can't use my Minolta SRT 101 anymore." I said, "But I'm using the same lens, manual lens, that I had on my Minolta. My friend found an adapter to put it on my Nikon. And this is what I'm shooting lightning with now. And this is the camera that got the picture that was raffled off tonight. And every shot that I do now of lightning is with this digital camera. Now, about cell phone photography. See, to me, it doesn't matter the tool. It matters what you see and what you think. And it's like this one that I've been picking on people all evening about. This was done with my cell phone. Now, this, I love doing things that you can't tell what they are. And I have never in my life done abstract photography. I like to see what I'm looking at. But sometimes I get bored, so I took my cell phone out into a rainstorm one time, and this is photographed with my cell phone, and it is rain. That's all it is. And the flash from the cell phone created all the light that's in there. You'd be surprised what your cell phone, before I get into my lightning, and because all this is photographs with negatives, but see, I don't know how many of you saw this one. A flutterby in flight, in focus, twice, with a cat behind it, with a cell phone. But, we are going back to 1970s. Can we ditch the lights, gentlemen? Oh, in the very beginning, I went in, I was writing poetry. Oh, I got to start this thing with a poem. What am I doing? Right, thank you, that's a good one, right there. Writing poetry. 53 years ago, I wrote my very first poem. I was 16 years old. I'll be 69 next month. I love being able to still doing this at this age. But anyway, I wrote a poem, and boy, did my life change. So the poem that I'm going to recite to you is on the back of all these things, and they're free. No, I'm not going to sell them. They're free, okay? And you can have one if you want it, and on the back of every one gives you the information about me and Stormy Weather Gallery and this poem called After All. And I started writing poetry because be an artist, so I'm okay with it. But I started writing poetry because one of the reasons was my Winter Park High School literature teacher made me memorize a poem, made all the whole class memorize a poem, and we couldn't pick our own poem. You know, roses are red, violets are blue, you know. I was made to memorize The Charge of the Light Brigade.
Oh my.
16 years old, and I got to memorize cannons to the right of them, cannons to the left of them. What? You know, and I thought, if this is what people are being exposed to for poetry, then I can see why people don't like poetry. But the other reason was men. Men didn't like poetry. For a lot of reasons. Too mushy, okay, is one of them. But also, if you have to sit there with a dictionary on this side and a thesaurus on this side just to understand that poem, nah. So I call my words everyday words for everyday people. This poem is called After All. I wrote it at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's why I could never have a real job, because poetry didn't come to me at opportune times. 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's one of the few poems that I wrote that I actually went in and woke my wife up to read it to her. But see, when you're young, you got choices to make. And I tell the kids in school when I go do my lightning show for the kids in schools, I tell them, you got choices to make. If you don't make the choice is going to be made for you, and you have to live with it. So the choice is yours. The easiest, the hardest, the easiest and the hardest choices out there, positive or negative. Negative is so easy to get into and so hard to get out of. Positive is so hard to get into and so easy to fall out of. Well, I wrote this poem called After All as a mantra to myself, a lecture to myself about how I wanted life to be. So here it is. It's called After All. When the day has been darkened within your mind and the positive energy is hard to find, and the road you have chosen is all uphill, hey, take a break for yourself. Yeah, better still, give someone else a helping hand. Spread some happiness upon this land. Feel the energy within your soul. After all, you are the one who has control. You are the one who can turn the tide and be true to yourself with nothing to hide. And see the warmth of a hidden smile. Take a break for yourself. And after a while, your burden so heavy will ease a bit. You'll feel good. And you're the cause of it. You know you can accomplish that impossible goal. After all, you are the one who has control. You have control of whatever you do. Your thoughts are your energy. It's all up to you. You can blame it on anyone whenever you fall, but you do have control after all. What do you think? Well, like I said, I still know that poem is on the back here, and these are free. So when you want to come by, I'll give you one, okay? So, poetry. Back in 1974, on July 12th of 1974, I sold my first poem on a piece of wood for $7.50. Boy, look what happened. Because see, I'm a firm believer in dreams. I'm not talking about the asleep kind. I'm talking about stuck in traffic. No. But see, my dreams start with 5 words. Wouldn't it be neat? Wouldn't it be neat if I could write poetry that everybody could relate to and understand? Wouldn't it be neat if I could make a living on it? Not much of a living, but at least I didn't have to have a real job, you know. So anyway, I was writing poetry for a while. In 1974, I was set up in Colonial Plaza. You know, Colonial Plaza isn't even there anymore. But I'm still around. But I was set up at Christmas time, and I'd been on TV, and I'd been in the newspaper. The newspaper gave me the name, the Lightning Stalker. Stalking now is illegal, but I guess it's okay with me because they said so, not me. Okay? But anyway, my next dream, wouldn't it be neat if I could buy a camera and I could photograph sunrises and sunsets and birds and flowers and all the neat beauty of Mother Nature, and maybe I could get a couple of good shots and I could put those on with my poetry? Well, Christmas in 1974, sitting in Colonial Plaza Mall, I made enough money that I was able to go into J.C. Penney's. I bought this Minolta SRT 101, brand new, had no clue how to use it. Well, see, I have an OTJT on the end of my name. I don't have a PhD or any of that initials, okay? I have an OTJT on the job training. I taught myself about poetry because I sat there with a thesaurus and a dictionary while I was writing a poem because I wanted to make sure those words were spelled right. If you were reading one of my poems and you saw a misspelled word, I just think that might take it down a notch. So I learned. And I took my camera home and I unpacked it and I got the instruction booklet and it's talking about depth of field and, well, I couldn't understand this language. So I put my camera together and went out and learned how to use it. Okay, gentlemen, now take those lights down. The very first good photograph I ever took of my Minolta SRT 101 was that one. The actual sunrise behind the rose at Lake Eola in downtown Orlando. Or how about my flutterby? Of course, half of you know about my other flutterby here, but I chased him for an hour. I took 36 shots of him. I was trying to get a flutterby in flight. I had to wait till it landed, but I got my flutterby. Or how about the bird that just happened to land there when I was shooting the sunset, so I shot it. Right here. Okay, where's my camera? Or the honeybee coming down into the cactus flower. Now, I like to take a little pause here to let you know how much gas was back then per gallon. 17 cents a gallon. You could fill your car up for $3 and go cruising and look for a photograph, and that's what I used to do. And how about my kitty? There's my kitty right there. His name was Wuzzy, because his name started out to be Fuzzy Wuzzy Wuzzy Bear, Fuzzy Wuzzy, but that was a long name, so we called him Wuzzy. Or how about my bird? His name was Zeke. He was so cool. Hey, Zeke. Or my sunrise at the beach. Or my sunrise at Lake Eola with the bird. I love it. Or how about the moon? I was born July 14th. Makes my astrological sign Cancer. And somewhere I read that Cancers were moon children. That must be why. No, I won't shoot that moon. I shoot this moon, okay? But in the learning of my photography, I was given a lot of advice from other photographers. And one of the pieces of advice that I was given was that my Minolta SRT 101 would not do multiple exposures. You could do one shot and that was it. I beg to differ. How about 2 moons on the same negative? Or how about 4 moons on the same negative? Now, I shot this shot to show people, because I used to work at a place called Page's 1 Hour Photo in Sanford, and that's where I processed all my work. Steve Page was such a cool guy. He gave me a key to his place because he knew I'd be there at 6 o'clock in the morning, so he wouldn't have to be. But people would bring in moon shots, and they'd be a big white glob. And the whole thing is, if you go out by program on your camera, it's picking up all the darkness around the moon. I tell these people, set your camera shutter speed at 1/60th, because the moon is daylight. This shot was 1/60th of a second. This shot was 1/125th of a second. This shot was 1/250th of a second. And that one in there was 1/500th of a second. So I always like to go on the other side of the track. How about my shuttle? I used to love to photograph the shuttle taking off. But the problem with all these photographs, those were the same thing everybody else was doing. I wanted to be different. And in my younger days, all I wanted to do was I never dreamed of fame and fortune, didn't care about fame and fortune. I didn't want to work in a cubicle for the rest of my life, 30 years, and what have I done with my life? Well, I asked a couple of photographers during early 76 how they would go about photographing lightning. Well, nobody was doing it back then. They had no clue. But they told me I couldn't do it with my Minolta SRT 101. I said, why not? And they said, well, you can't put a motor drive on it. It doesn't have, and you can't put a sensor on there, and you got to have ultraviolet film. And wait, whoa! My philosophy on photography is, if you can see it, you can shoot it. You might not get it the first time, the second time, 133rd time, but the 4th time I ever tried to photograph a streak of lightning, and this came out of there. Oh, thank you. God, look at this thing. Blue sky, purple clouds. I don't colorize my stuff. What you see is as natural as it can get. And even to the point that when I went out chasing this storm, I had a 1964 Oldsmobile convertible. I had my top down all the time. If it rains and you're on the interstate, you don't get rained on. Okay? If it's cold, turn the heater on. If it's hot, turn the air conditioner, even if the top is down. Well, I was on Highway 50. I had just been out to Stark Lake and Winter Garden, and a stupid storm covered up my sunset, so I started heading home. And on the way back, I had my rear view mirror watching this cloud. And I don't know if it was a streak of lightning or a reflection off another car, but I saw something in that cloud that made me do a U-turn out on Highway 50, way out west. Before you get to Winter Garden, there's 2 lakes on that side of the road. And I was over there, and I put my camera on the trunk of my car, and that's where I took my first shot of lightning. Never even realizing that I had the antenna of my 1974 Oldsmobile convertible in that shot. So then it was, wouldn't it be neat if I could get 1 streak a year? Just 1. Well, this was 1976. In 1977, I give you downtown Orlando. But just remember, in 1977, Orlando didn't have any tall buildings. But this is Orlando in 1977. Now, there's I-4 right there, and there's a Chamber of Commerce building right here. And that building was the first tall one. There's another retirement center down there, but Orlando has grown up, and I've got other shots over Orlando. In 1978, well, I learned, sometimes you get a photograph of lightning that ain't so great, but it's the only one for 78, so I'll take it. But I learned something. I heard on the radio that a tornado had touched down near Windermere. Cool. Oh, not for them, for me. but I started heading toward Windermere to see if I could go find this tornado. And I got covered up by rain. I backed up a little bit, and it was still raining. And here's what happens when it's raining. You see how you can barely see the leaders in here? It's called a rain shield. They can't make it through the rain. So my number 1 obstacle for photographing lightning is to get out of the rain. In 1979, I call it There's a Fire in the Sky up at Lake Monroe. But in 1980, Channel 2 built this brand new transmitting tower up across Lake Monroe in Deltona or DeBerry or one of those cities. Now there's a gazillion of them up there, but back then there was 1. On June 23rd of 1980, I was up at Lake Monroe chasing a storm. It was mostly gone. Oh, I'm up here, might as well try some shots anyway. And I set my camera up and I just aimed across the Lake Monroe, and I opened the shutter and closed the shutter a few times, knowing that I was going to get nothing. But then, the first streak of lightning I ever got going up. And back then, mankind did not know that lightning went up. And I kept telling, I've been all over the country doing this show for Meteorologic, and I'd walk and I'd say, well, this one's going, oh no, lightning doesn't go up, it's just an optical illusion. Well, if you ever get to see the thing on the Discovery Channel called Raging Planet Lightning, I took the film crew up to Lake Monroe, same place where I shot this next one, and they got this streak of lightning in slow motion coming up off this tower, a little spit, and then it just pours the lightning out of there, sort of like this. And there's the tower, and here's the thing. When lightning comes down, it's got all these leader streaks to guide it, and it's a straight shot. When lightning goes back up again, it's got no leader streaks, and it just goes up, and then that thunder rolls on forever. Or how about 1980 ruined my dream? My dream was, wouldn't it be neat if I could capture 1 streak of lightning a year? This was only June 23rd. I had a whole storm season to go, well, summer for y'all. Storm season for me, okay? And on July 29th, my friend Amber called me up. Remember when there were landline phones? Amber called me up and she said, David, there's a storm in the east and there's a full moon right next to it. Ooh. Drove to Lake Catherine, Dog Track Road and 17I-2. On the other side of the lake, here's a full moon rising and a storm right next to it. I never even dreamed of lightning and the moon together. July 29th of 1980. This is Lake Catherine. I call it reflections because the lightning is reflecting in the lake, the moon is reflecting in the lake, and mankind's lights are reflecting in the lake. Ah, yes. 1981. Remember that transmitting tower I just showed you? How about a bolt of lightning that makes it look kind of small? This is called, oh, by the way, that transmitting tower is 1,800 feet tall, just about a third of a mile. But this bolt of lightning makes it look kind of small. This is called awesome. Look at this thing. Now, right here, you see all these lights. This is I-4 going over Lake Monroe, okay? Now, they say you're pretty safe in your car if you're stuck in a lightning storm. Well, I'm sort of a belief that if one of these bolts of lightning hit that car, never mind, we won't talk about that. But you are pretty safe in your car as long as you're not hanging out the door. Hey, man, what's up? Oh, how about 1982? It's called Midnight. It's all one bolt of lightning. It started way over here and it came right into here and it exploded at that point. Am I out of focus or is it me being close to it? Oh, looks much better here. Okay, so anyway, I see two things in here that I don't normally see in lightning. Number one, I see a rocking horse. There's his head, there's his rocker, there's his little saddle right there. But then again, I got my first selfie I got my first selfie in 1982. There I am right there with my glasses and my nose isn't quite that point. And my hair, look. Trust me, I have a lot of hair. Well, first of all, I'll be 69 next month. I'm really glad I still have hair. Because if your hair is an early warning system for a bolt of lightning coming your way, and when your hair stands up, you are a bolt of lightning. You just haven't realized it yet. But the first time I ever realized that, when we get to 1985, this is 82. 83, brainstorm. First one I ever got was a sunset. But it looked like a brainstorm to me. How about 1983? It's called Genesis, first book of the Bible. 1984, April 13th, Friday the 13th, 1984. I stepped out of my house that morning. No, of course in my bare feet, like against my wife. My wife and I have been married 46 years, and you shouldn't go out there without your shoes. Step on a nail. Oh, guess you told me so. Oh, well, I call it justice. One nail, tetanus shot and all that, one bolt of lightning. That's justice. Oh, almost got a tornado. I was at Oxford Road in 436 before they built all that stuff over there. Just a wide open field. Look at this that cloud corkscrewing down. I was rooting for a tornado. I'd be willing to bet the guy who lives in that house right there wasn't rooting for any tornado to come down. 1985. Give me my first real wake-up call to how dangerous lightning really is. August 17th, 1985, Lake Catherine, Dog Track Road in 1792. The storm was north of the lake and moving my way. And the first shot is the one I'm going to show you. I could have quit with one shot. But I did 10 rolls of 36 shots each, 360 shots, because I saw lightning hit the water. And when lightning hits water, it makes this really neat half circle of aquamarine, with all charged particles, you know. So I was waiting for lightning to hit the Lake Catherine. Next thing I knew, my hair was standing up. Now back then it wasn't nearly this long, but like I say, I didn't know what I was getting into back then, but I felt my hair stand up. And I use a metal camera and a metal cable release, and I'm saying, come on, come on. Oh, I let go of that cable release and I started to duck down. The next thing I knew, I was picking myself off the ground about 15 feet away. Probably more of a survival thing, but this is called the miracle. Shame on me. This is called light show from my front yard. This is called the miracle. Oh, what a good storm, thank you. And so this lightning almost gets me. I'm on the ground, my wife is in the car on 1792, she sees her husband not there anymore. She gets out of the car and comes running to me and I'm picking myself off the ground. Well, all that evening and the next day we had a serious discussion about whether I was going to continue to photograph lightning or not. Seemed like my wife wanted a live husband, not a dead lightning stalker, okay? But anyway, the very next night, Sunday night, August 18th, up at Lake Monroe, what a great storm. I call it images. But the neatest one for 85 was on Halloween night. Hurricane Juan was moving out of the Gulf of Mexico on October 31st, and it was moving northeast, and I guess it was one of the feeder bands, I don't know, but it's another streak of lightning going up off a transmitting tower. See that thing going up there? Now here's what's neat. What happens when lightning gets in the earth? Cloud to ground, cloud to ground, cloud to ground, cloud to ground. That's a lot of energy getting in the earth. Eventually the earth has to do something with it. So it starts sending out feelers to find a way out. Well, here's the feeler for that one. You can see it on this side of the curve, and you can see it right underneath the main bolt. But that one found a way out, and all the rest of that followed. 1986. I call this one the seventh challenge. It's my dedication to the Challenger 7 astronauts. Getting the moon and lightning together is, to me, the seventh challenge of photographing lightning. Because see, my dream was, wouldn't it be neat if a bolt of lightning would come out of that cloud and go over the moon? Well, it came out the other side, but that's okay, because I'm still waiting on that one going over the moon. And when I finally capture it, here it is, 40 years. Have the rest of them. Here it is 40 years later, and I still don't have my lightning going over the moon, except I do have a couple that have streaks going over the moon, but it's not what I want. But when I finally capture it, I'm going to call it Cows Can Do It. Come on, y'all. And the fork ran away with a spoon. So anyway, how about, remember that transmitting tower that I just showed you? Wait a minute, this one here, look at this. All right, two trees, a valley between them. Okay? Same lake, same place, except I was around the lake about 40 feet. Right between those two trees. Going up off a transmitting tower again. I love it. I love doing something mankind don't know much about. You know, I've learned a lot in 40 years. But, Aquarius. This is not cropped. This is a vertical shot of lightning. Shot at 427, and we used to be Charlotte Road, which is now Lake. I don't know, but there wasn't too much stuff out there. But getting blue sky on three sides of a cloud to get a bolt of lightning, what a rare shot. Oh boy. Or how about Exodus? Genesis, Exodus, working on Leviticus. Can hardly say it, much less spell it, but this is Exodus. Blue sky, I always go out for that blue sky. A long time ago, it got boring to wait for black sky and white streaks. Those are easy. These are not. Or how about Jimi Hendrix, Purple Haze, excuse me while I kiss the sky. Or Pathways, going across the sky at Lake Fairview, Winter Park. Winter Park, yeah. Oh, Winter Park. But anyway, Lake Fairview. But what was neat, there's a building and there's a building. Orlando had tall buildings all of a sudden. So I figured, well, maybe I could go somewhere and get some shots over Orlando the way it looks now back in 1990. Okay, so Florida Hospital at Princeton and Orange Avenue, or Rollins and whatever. Florida Hospital out there, they had a 7-floor parking garage. Everything has changed now, but back then they had a 7-floor parking garage. And if you went up to the 7th floor of that parking garage, you could almost see over the medical building that was right next to it. Well, I'm a little nuts. Positive nuts, okay? I took me and my tripod and got on the roof of my car. You can see over that medical center building. So I'm on the roof of my car shooting lightning over Orlando, and the next thing I hear is, "Don't jump! Don't jump! We're a hospital, we can help you." And I look down there, there's a security guard, and there's a little golf cart down there. "Come on, fella, we don't want you to jump." I looked down at him and I said, "I'm not up here to jump, I'm up here for the light." Well, he kicked me off. But before he kicked me off, while I was up there, I kept shooting. This is called Light Up Orlando. Now, there's the medical center building right there. But here's my 3-second geography lesson. Gulf of Mexico, Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida. Except that maybe Hurricane Andrew already knew it was going to come across Florida. Oh, Altamont Mall. The Altamont Mall had a really bad hair day. Like me. But anyway, this is called Providence. And I call it Providence because this whole lightning thing must be my Providence. Because look at this thing. And usually I do not know where they're hitting if they're beyond the horizon. But the next day I heard that Altamont Mall was getting direct hits of lightning in its parking lot. I was having a good time. They weren't. Or how about The best mistake I ever made. He was my cat. His name was Q, okay? He had two eyes, just like every other cat, but one of these low clouds got in the other way of his other eye, so I could call it the eye of the storm. And this is something you can do this on Photoshop, but you can't do it in your camera that I know about anymore. But I accidentally double exposed a roll of film. My cat, Q, was in it, you know, and, well, let me see. If you have a picture of your grandmother dancing on the roof of your car, you might have double exposed a roll of film. Or if you have a picture of your kitchen in the Grand Canyon, you might have double exposed a roll of film. But I'll take that. Yay, Q. He's called the eye of the storm. Or how about, look. I think that little piece right there is going over the moon. But when I finally capture my lightning going over the moon is going to be right there. There will be no doubt that that lightning is going over the moon. And this is Lake Jessup. Now, after the situation out at Disney a couple nights ago, bad news. There's a lot of alligators around. But Lake Jessup has more alligators on per capita or whatever they said than any lake in the world. Lake Jessup has a lot of, I didn't know. I thought they were bullfrogs. And I was up there shooting lightning, and my friend Rick was standing next to me. I said, how come I hear all these bullfrogs? I go see. He said, David, those are alligators. This is called gator strike. The alligator is in the water right there. And I know it's not a log because in a series of shots it moved from over there to over there, okay? So I don't know if logs can swim, but gator strike or Nemesis. The first film crew that was ever chasing storms with me, doing a story on me and my work, it was on Cablevision of Central Florida, long before it came to Bright House and long before it came up. But Cablevision of Central Florida decided to do a half-hour video on me, and I took them into this storm, and they were a bunch of chickens. They wouldn't even get out of the car. I'm out there behind a bush with my camera holding it. You got to hold the cable release, otherwise you don't get nothing. And I'm down there holding it. And they were doing all the video from inside. And you can see where this bolt of lightning hit in the field right there and just lit it up. I love this obsession. Or how about, on July 14th, I'm guessing this is 1991. Boy, it's been 40 years. Sometimes that's years. But anyway, my wife gave me a bookmark for my birthday, okay, because I do a lot of reading, and now I have a Kindle, but there was books back then. And on the bookmark, it had the Serenity Prayer. And serenity, courage, and wisdom were highlighted. And I looked at her and I said, wouldn't it be neat if I could get a set of 3 streaks of lightning in the same storm, so I can call them serenity, courage, and wisdom. This is serenity. And that channel marker is in the other 2 shots. There's serenity, there's courage with the channel marker, and there's wisdom. Now, talk about courage. So I had a film crew up there with me. And they were doing videos, and we looked at each other's frames to make sure we had exactly the same place frame with their video camera and my still shot camera. This is a shot I got. On their shot, you can see that it took probably a second and a half for this whole bolt of lightning to happen. It hit over there, then it hit here, then it hit over here once, then it hit over there. I mean, this thing, it was cool to see I've been learning stuff all these years. This is so neat. But that's courage and wisdom and my double rainbow. And just to let you know that I'm not some long hair slacker, I got the other side. Now, if I just flipped the slider, the shot around, then this bush would be over there. But no. All right, but it was even better than that, because the rainbow was out there, and my wife, I drive her all over. I drive her crazy sometimes, but that's a short drive. But this was at Lake Concord, 1792 in Concord, where I have my picture frame shop now. But after this, the sun was going down, and what a great sunset. So we drove up to Prairie Lake, and I shot the sunset. But then we were leaving the sunset, and we went up to Lake Catherine, and the storm is now producing lightning. So I photographed the lightning. From the rainbow to the sunset to the lightning in 45 minutes in one night. Or how about, oh, I'm not done, Olympic Dream during the 1992 Summer Olympics. And what you're going to notice is that flat tree right there is your landmark, okay? Because what was happening, there was a great sunset happening over here, but it was way too bright to try to capture the whole thing. So I did turn my camera vertical and concentrated on the dark area and got this one, but I knew what I wanted. So I turned my camera horizontal and I got my bronze medal. And here's that flat tree right there. Bronze medal. Oh, no, 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 no. How about silver medal? Look at this thing. And there's that flat set of tree, a neat streak of lightning and cloud detail with a sunset. But I am so greedy. All I was doing this, my next thought was, wouldn't it be neat if a bolt of lightning would jump out of the cloud and into the sunset and down to the earth? It's called gold medal. Look at this thing. And there's a flat tree right there. But see, I have one problem. Here, this side is lit up pretty cool by a bolt of lightning. Now on silver medal, this side is lit up pretty nice by a bolt of lightning. And I wondered what would happen if I could put them together. You can do that on Photoshop now real easy. But back then, so here's what it would have looked like. Wait, watch. Not going to work, huh? I went up to my friend Steve, and Steve paid 1 hour photo, and I said, Steve, what would happen if we took silver medal negative and gold medal negative and put them together and printed it? And he said, no, David, not you, you're a purist. I said, yeah, but I got to see. This is called double vision. And I always admit to people that are going to buy any of my work, if I did any tricks to it, like double vision, where I jammed two negatives together, but look what I got. Oh man, thank you. Oh, by the way, the flat set of trees is right there. So, how about somebody was talking about a riverboat trip. There you go, a Grand Romance riverboat. Do you know getting a moving object and a bolt of lightning in a still shot time-lapse photograph is really hard to do? Do you see any streaks behind the lights? And you can actually see the wake in the water? My shutter was open for 1 second. I saw this bolt of lightning come off of the Channel 2 transmitting tower, and it exploded across the sky. I call it a grand romance. Not for the boat. For me and my love of storms, thank you. Or, how about Wekiva 303? I was at Wekiva State Park at the youth camp doing this show for 200 fifth graders from Clay Springs Elementary School in March. I don't get much lightning in March. Well, I took my camera with me because I pay attention to the weather. And right in the middle of my show, this storm came right through Wekiva State Park. And I told the kids, you stay in here, I'm going to go outside and try this. I did 6 shots. That was one of them. So I enlarged it, framed it, took it to the Clay Springs Elementary School and gave it to them. Wekiva 303. Or Eola, downtown Orlando. Now, after getting this one with all the trees in there, you never saw a shot with anything in the foreground because I didn't want to lose the lightning. Okay? So here, down at Lake Eola, the weeping willows, and I said, well, let me try this. Now, my whole idea was for lightning to hit the bank. Well, sometimes, you know, there's a song out there, you don't always get what you want, but sometimes you get what you need. Well, I'll take that. Or how about a page of my journey? Now, my wife doesn't go with me much anymore because this is my obsession, not hers. But she was with me in this storm. We had been to a restaurant. We were going to go to a restaurant the day before my birthday. And we went into this restaurant, and just as we walked in the door, I saw a flash. And we walk in there, and Judy does a lot of talking because I'm not very good socially, as y'all could probably tell you. but I feel a lot more comfortable in a storm. But anyway, Judy told the waitress, we need a table by a window. So we got a table by a window, and the waitress took our order, and a streak. Make that to go! We went to Sorrento, found us a hill, and had a picnic. This was my shot. And after I got this shot, I was ready to go home. You know, and Judy said, I'm not ready to go home yet. Oh, okay, no, all right, no problem. So if I'm going to be there, I might as well keep shooting. And thank you, Judy, because if I had left, I would have missed This one. I call this one here a page of my journey because every shot I do is just one more page in this life journey of mine. But this one, this is called the journey because this makes it worth it. Look at that thing. Thank you. Or how about blinded by the lightning? Yay, Manfred Mann. Now this is up at the Zellwood Airport, which is now called the Country Executive, something like. But anyway, that's the runway light from the airport. So I'm shooting over Lake Apopka that way, and halfway through the storm, and this stuff was pretty close. Halfway through the storm, I realized I was standing on the railroad tracks. Very bad place to be in a lightning storm. How about the quest? I call this one the quest because it's this is my personal quest for the best bolt of lightning and the best whatever. Well, this one right up there is a dog's face, looking at that bone of a cloud way up there. And I didn't know what kind of a dog it was until my wife made me go get my birthday present the next year. And she had arranged for me to pick up the last one of a litter of Aussie Shepherd and Great Pyrenees puppy. His name was Blitzen. He was such a cool, because he'd go with me in a storm and we'd be out in the field and he'd go do all his smelling, and it's called P-mail. They read their stories, you know. But he would read, and then he would sit behind me and keep an eye out. And that was Blitzen. Yay, Blitzen. Or how about the shuttle? The shuttle again. Oh, but this one's different. I had a VIP pass for the Banana Creek press site. Thank you, Jennifer. But I had a VIP pass, and this was my first shot. And this was my second shot. It's going. And this is my third shot. It's on its way. Everybody lined up against the water was getting those same exact shots. I want to be different. Well, long before it ever took off, I had wandered back in the parking lot and I saw a photograph just waiting to happen. As soon as I took this shot, I grabbed my other camera, I ran across the grass into the parking lot. All of a sudden, a security guard starts running after me. Afterwards, we were talking about it. He said they always got to ask questions about somebody running away from the shuttle. Like I could do something about that thing. But I saw the photograph that I've been waiting for. This is called "And the Rocket's Red Glare" for our flag. The shuttle and the flag together, okay? And all of these people missed it. Oh, thank you, thank you. Or how about Deja Vu? Looked like the very first one I ever got. Or Riders on the Storm. I was out here at Lake Apopka, and I mean, there's a whole big fence around Lake Apopka now. It's really hard to shoot over there. But they got this little road out there called Hooper's Farms Road. And if you go down Hooper's Farms Road, at night usually they have a farm gate that's really loose, a chain link fence. And I drove down there, and I didn't want all those little X's from the chain link fence, so it was wide enough for me to squeeze through. And I was standing on the other side of the fence and shooting lightning, and all of a sudden I saw headlights coming down Hooper's Farms Road. And I figured, well, I must have set somebody's alarm off, you know, but I knew it was a cop, you know, so I backed out of the fence. And I walked backwards, and I have one of my jackets I was going to wear, but it's warm. But it has big white letters, lightning struck. You know, and I walked backwards with my hands up because cops have enough problems as it is. And he said, you know, you can turn around. So I turned around, he said, you can put your hands down. And he held out his hand. He said, I just want to shake your hand. I said, why? He said, because you taught my daughter a lesson that I couldn't even teach her. I said, uh-oh. He said, you go around to the schools and talk to the kids about lightning awareness? I said, yeah. He said, you go to elementary schools and talk to the kids? I said, yeah. And he said, you tell those kids that if they see the big phrase for the National Lightning Safety Institute for young kids is about thunder, if you hear it, clear it. About lightning, if you see it, flee it. So when I go do a show, I split the group right down the middle, and this is thunder, and this is lightning. If you see it, flee it. And I have these kids screaming that stuff. And he said his daughter came in one time, dragging her little brother with her, screaming, if you see it, flee it. If you see it, flee it. He said, where did you learn that? The lightning guy came to our school and told us. And I said, you mean I'm not in trouble for being outside the fence? He said, nah. He said, but aren't you missing everything out there? And I said, no, I locked my shutter open before I came out the fence so I could get everything out there. And I usually don't leave it for this many streaks of lightning, but I'll take this one. I call it Riders on the Storm, Jim Morrison and the Doors. Or how about 2 o'clock in the morning? I'm older now. Getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning to chase a storm just doesn't work. But back then, I heard the thunder. Got up, got dressed, camera was already in the car, drove 2 miles from my house, out 434 out at Lake Jessup, did a half a dozen shots, got back in my car, went home, went back to bed. I call it Godspeed. Thank you. Or how about earth, wind, and fire? How many are old enough to remember that group? Out at Universal Studios, they were just building one of the parks out there. This is their construction fence. But I don't like going down there because there's too many tourists and one raindrop hits their windshield and they're doing 2 miles an hour. Nah. So I usually stay away from there, but I'll take this. Or how about, wait a minute. There was a German film crew here in 1996. They stayed here a week. For a week, we had no storms. The day they left, I knew they saw this. And as planes went over, I said, you missed it! When I photographed this where the RDV Sportsplex is now on Maitland Boulevard, the Orlando Magic RDV Sportsplex, and this is a tower place at the summit. But I photographed this one from that field right there, and right up off this transmitting tower right here is a failed bolt of lightning. It's a positive streamer that the negative leader got close enough to it that it lit it up. I love this stuff. Or how about, wait a minute, Central Winds Park, Winter Springs, okay? I was really hoping one of these things would hit the pole, light pole, because I mean, they came really close. And the very next day, I was in the cover of the Florida Magazine in the Orlando Sentinel, which was a Sunday, and so I called this one Cover Story. And people were stopping, coming out of the, oh, you're that guy. Okay, I'm that guy. But there's Cover Story. I really wanted it to hit one of those poles. But I did find out something. Doesn't do a thing when it hits the poles. I have lightning hitting a transmitting tower. I don't have it in a slide, but I have a shot. And the only reason you can see lightning is because it's burning the atmosphere as it goes through. And the only reason you hear the thunder is because the atmosphere is going back together again. Somebody came into my shop a week ago and said, do you think maybe the lightning is caused by lightning breaking the sound barrier? Now, I know that light travels at 386,000 miles a second, but lightning doesn't travel that fast. But I don't know how fast the bolt of lightning travels, but I don't think it breaks the sound barrier. But like I said, the only reason you can see it is because it's burning the atmosphere. Or how about Sanford International Airport? Oh, Sanford Airport. Anyway, I was out there, got this shot, had no idea I had the shot. You know, I do the roll of film and nothing good, you know, so I had the roll of film in my pocket. The next day was Memorial Day. My kids decided to push Dad in the pool. And here Dad in his pocket, the first thing they see going up out of the water is a fist. And inside that fist, I had reached my hand in my pocket and pulled out a yellow canister of Kodak film that this was on. And the lady calls me up from the lab and she said, well, David, if it hadn't been the first shot, she said, you only ruined like 3 or 4 negatives. If it hadn't been the first shot, it would have been okay. And this is what she gave me back. And I looked at it and I said, and she said, are you upset? And I said, heck no. I said, now I got a new title for one, Just Add Water. Or how about, wait a minute. Oh, my popcorn series. I got a whole series of these things. Here's 1, here's 2, and here's 3. Okay, now I'm going to go backwards forward real fast. I want to tell you something. Watch this. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you. I'm pretty much of a purist when it comes to my work. But I walked into the lab I used to work at. I've had a few real jobs throughout my life, but nothing that ever took me away from my real work, okay? But I did some framing for a guy in the digital department down at the lab. And he came up to me the next morning and he handed me a CD. And he said, I know you're a purist, but you got to see this. And he had taken all 3 of these shots combined them into one shot, and it's called digital popcorn. I don't even have a slide of it, I don't think. Nope. I don't have, slides were going out of business a while back, so I was never really much into slides, but tornado came through here in 1998. This is a leading edge going up into Sanford. It took some little girl out of her house and up into, oh, it was bad tornado. But, vertical shot. You see, can you barely see the sunset over here? Oh, that's the whole thing right here. In my mind's eye. In my mind's eye, after I took this shot, I thought this was outside the frame. I thought I had lost it. But then, there's a lawsuit going on right now about Stairway to Heaven, Led Zeppelin, using that very beginning from another tune. Well, maybe they're going to sue me for using that title on this streak of lightning. This is called my personal Stairway to Heaven. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Sunset, lightning, rain. I mean, thank you. And then, leap of faith. But here's what happens a lot of times. You see how I lost the top of it? You see how I lost the edge of it? A lot of times you'll get a great streak of lightning right here and it goes off the edge. It doesn't count if it goes off the edge. This one counts. Look at this thing. Leap of faith. Oh boy. And let me see how many more I got. Oh, last one. Photographing lightning when there's this much sunset out there is most difficult because you are overexposed right now. But the sun is still up here behind the cloud. And in this storm, I actually have two photographs. It's really hard to see, but I have two photographs that have the sun and lightning together. Getting the moon and lightning together is hard enough. Getting the sun and lightning together, nah. Now I got a grand finale for you. I have taken a little effort with the William Tell Overture and the 1812 Overture